Hey, what's up everyone? If you don't know me, my name is Arthur and welcome to my channel, inFLUENTE. Today we will be talking about how to write a good essay, and I will be recording this video in English because if you can write an essay, I assume that your English is very good. To write texts like that, you will probably need to know at least like 10 to 15,000 words. So I decided to record this in English so you can also practice your listening. Okay? In today's video, I will show you how you can structure an essay. And in addition to that, I'm gonna give you some tips so you can improve your writing. However, before that, I would like to ask you to push the like button, because when you do that, YouTube recognize that this video is important and it makes it available to a greater number of people, and this will help me a lot. And in addition to that, if you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel because I post videos here almost every week. But with no further delay, let's go back to today's video. Let me change my screen. So the first thing that we need to understand is that an essay, the best definition for it is that it is a formal text in which you try to make, you try to argue about something. So that's the idea of an essay. It is a text in which you argue a specific point of view. So the first thing that you need to do is to pick a topic of your choice. However, before writing the essay, you actually have to read a little bit about the subject that you will write about. You do that so you can build up some knowledge to construct your arguments. And then just after that, you can begin writing it. One thing that it is interesting to mention is that when you read about the topic that you will write about, you will also get a hang of the kind of vocabulary that people have been using to describe a specific problem. And you also have to pay attention to terms that people will not be familiar with. When you bump into those terms, make sure that you define them throughout your text. So once you have done your homework, we can start thinking about the structure of an essay. And an essay, it's usually divided into an introduction, okay, and in this introduction, perfect. And in your introduction, you will actually give a very broad picture about the things that you will talk about. However, you will also have to have inside of your introduction a thesis statement. And a thesis statement is a sentence in which you declare or in which you state what you will argue about. So imagine that I want to talk about Brazil's economy. And when I look at the Brazilian economy, I believe that it has been growing in the past few years. So a good statement, a good thesis statement that I could place inside of my introduction would be something like Brazil's economy has been growing in the past few years. And when I place this inside of my introduction, the paragraphs that follow my introduction will have to have information to support my thesis statement. So often after an introduction, we have what we call the body. Let me place here A. You will have the body of the text, in which you will have like several paragraphs where you will give some examples why Brazil's economy has been growing. And finally, you will have your conclusion. In your conclusion, you will always have to bring back your thesis statement. However, you have to you will have to rephrase it. So you will restate your thesis statement, but with other words. Okay? So bring back your thesis statement. Cool? So far so good. And then I believe that there are a few things that you need to know when writing an essay. Okay? These I will call just like tips, general tips. General tips. Okay? What are some of these tips that I want to mention to you today? First, you need to be aware of the distinction between a text that is coherent and a text that has cohesion. If I say that a text is coherent, it's because there is a logic inside of that text. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the arguments, they go in a straight line. You don't go forward and back all the time. So there is a specific line of thought. In all texts, they have to be coherent. Cohesion, on the other hand, is when the sentences inside of your text, they are connected to one another. Some texts, they might have cohesion, but they might not be coherent. It's difficult to give an example to illustrate that, but an exercise that I remember doing in college in one of my writing classes was that the professor, he told us to grab one piece of paper and someone would write a sentence such as, I went to school. He would pass back to the person who was behind him this sheet of paper, and the person would write something based on the sentence that the person in front of him wrote. However, when he would pass on this sheet of paper, he would have to fold the sentence that he used as a reference. And as you do that in an entire class, you will see that all of your sentences, they are connected. but the text is not coherent. So this is an idea that you can imagine. This is just an example that you can imagine of how a text can have cohesion and not being coherent. And when you write an essay, your text will have to have these two elements because they are extremely important. So you have first to organize your ideas, and then you will have to write them down. And the words that you use, they will have to be connected to one another. Okay? Another thing that it is important that you need to know when you're writing an essay is about conjunctions. Conjunctions, they are words in languages that enable you to connect sentences together. And when you use them, it will make your essay have more cohesion. Some conjunctions that you might know are conjunctions that gives you an opposite idea. So adversative conjunctions such as however, although, though, nevertheless, and so on. And all of these conjunctions, they are a synonym of but. However, these conjunctions on the left, they tend to be a little bit more formal. And since you are writing a text in which is formal, try to use these other conjunctions here. Be careful not to use the same conjunction all the time, but vary them from time to time. Otherwise, your text will become, like, I wouldn't say tiresome to read, but also weak, because the person who is reading it will see that you don't have a lot of vocabulary. So always try to vary them a little, okay? There is another type of conjunction that you also need to know, which is conjunctions of addition, okay? So for example, in addition, besides, be careful that besides is a conjunction, which means like in addition, but beside is a preposition, which means like next to, okay? So in addition, besides, I also like moreover, okay? And so on. And all of these conjunctions, they are a synonym of and. Try not to use and, okay? Try to use these other conjunctions that I just told you, in addition, besides, and moreover. And there are others as well. And there is also conjunctions related to conclusion. So you can say in conclusion, you can say therefore, okay? You can say hence, and you can also use thus, and so on. So try to use all of these conjunctions to connect your sentences and your paragraphs together. Cool? I also wrote down some other things that you have to pay attention when writing an essay. So the first one is conjunctions. Also, since it is a formal text, you have to avoid the use of contractions. So avoid using, for example, don't, okay? Use do not, and like contractions like in general, okay? Also avoid using something that like Brazilians like a lot, which is like it is, which like it works for everything, but it makes your text look weak, look, I would say, like lame. So avoid using this structure it is. When you want to say something and you want to begin with it is, try to rearrange your sentence so you don't begin with it is, you begin with something else. Another advice that I would like to give you is if you don't have a lot of experience writing in English, try to use short sentences. Okay, because when you do that, you're gonna be able to make your text clear to the person who is reading. Another thing that I would ask you to do is avoid passive voice. We people from Brazil, we like to use that all the time. An example of a passive voice would be something like that, like someone stole my wallet. Sorry. My wallet was today's just been terrible. My wallet was stolen by someone. Okay, so try to rearrange your sentences so you can actually write them in the active voice, which would be someone stole my wallet. So always be careful with the passive voice. You will generally use the passive voice only in 2 cases: when you don't know the agent, okay, or when you want to emphasize the object of your sentence. Cool? So this would be just like the 2 cases in which I would recommend you to use the passive voice. And let me see if there are any other things to talk about. No, and I believe this will be all. I actually wrote a text, and I will share with you this text pointing out all of these things that I just talked to you today in this text, but I will do that in another video. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you could, please push the like button, because this will help me a lot. And if you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I usually post videos on a daily basis here, and I will see you later. Cheers.